Hey everybody, this is Melanie. Welcome to our third episode of Mixed Media Monday. Today I'm going to be showing you different ways to smoosh with Distress Oxides, Distress Oxide spray. There's a new gold shimmer in the store. So for this today, let me set these aside. I'm going to be showing you on two different papers. Oh, that was still wet. This is a Vicki Boutin Foundations paper, and this is just a cardstock, and I honestly don't know the weight of it, that I gessoed. It is a little bubbly, but it's not going to matter. If I was doing a layout on this, I could easily put this under my mat and it would be fine. So I'm going to set this one aside and use it second so it can finish drying a little bit. We're going to be using just a piece of acetate like comes, like your stickers and stuff come on that. I'm going to be using a stamp block, and then I'm going to show you how to just drag the ink pad across as well. So let's get started. This is the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. It is a heavyweight cardstock. Christy talked about this in episode number 1 about the thickness of it and gesso and not gesso. So this is Vicki Boutin. I'm going to start with showing you how to smoosh on the acetate. We're just going to use a piece of acetate. This is the new Distress Oxide in Salvage Patina. I'm going to press it on there, a good smoosh like that. I'm going to take a little bit of the water in the Distress sprayer that's in the store. I'm just going to wet it. And then we're going to turn it, and it's probably going to get a drop on here, but that's okay because I'm going to put it in the same spot, and we're going to just smoosh it onto the paper. So we're going to turn it. I like to lay it down and just push the edges out. You can pick it up, walk it around like this, kind of roll it. You can put it down and smush it again. And when you smush it out, you see you're getting more of your water spots, your blotchy look with that. On here, you can also, if you have enough left on it, you can tap it, and make little water droplets. So that's the first one. So let me show you something here. On the smooshing, you can do that all over your paper. You could now take your roll of paper towels and blot this up, and it's going to make it not as vibrant. I like to take the heat gun. I'm going to take the heat gun and hit it real quick. So there's a few little puddles left. I'm just going to take the paper towel, roll over it. That'll pick it up. So you see when you let it dry, either let it dry naturally and walk away from it or hit it with the heat gun, you get the different intensities of the blues and the colors that are in there. Had I done it and just rolled it straight up, it would have all been more the lighter color. So that was smooshing with the acetate piece, and I'm just going to wipe that piece off. Next, I'm going to show you smooshing on just a stamp block if you don't have any of the acetate. See, I got a little blue on there. Let's take that off. This is just a regular acrylic stamp block. I'm going to hit it with the Kitsch Flamingo. This is the Distress Oxide. I'm going to squirt it with some water. You can take your paintbrush if you don't like that edge. That edge doesn't bother me. But if it does, you can take a little wet paintbrush and just kind of swirl it around to where you blend those colors together. By the time I've smushed it on the paper, that really doesn't bother me that much. Okay, this one we're going to smush again onto our Vicki Boutin cardstock. That pushed it out way further there. And this just gives you a different, it doesn't give you, you can't, I guess, put this in exact places like you can the other one, but you still can get the smooshing to do a big background. Wipe this off, and we're going to hit it with the ink gun again. You want to dry between your layers. So you can see here, this was where the edge was, where there wasn't as much on there. You can always go back over this with a little bit of water. You can take your paintbrush and you can thin that out some. You can make those lines not as harsh. And you can also, see, we're just gonna blend it in a little bit there so it doesn't look as harsh. You can also do that before you dry it, and it'll give you a little more flexibility to smooth it out. But you see it took some of those harsh lines away. Okay, so far we did smooshing with a piece of acetate, smooshing with the acrylic block, and we've used salvage patina and kitsch flamingo. Let's do some of the Distress Oxide sprays. This is the Salvage Patina Distress Oxide spray. I'm just going to spray this directly onto the paper and then run my acrylic around over it. I'm just going to give a light spritz of water on there. I'm going to hit this. I shook it up pretty good. So I'm going to go directly on there, and then I'm going to take our acetate that we used, and you can still walk it around. And this is going to give us a bolder color than we're going to edit that part out. So if you don't have the Distress Oxide ink and you just have the spray, you can do it with the spray as well. I'm going to roll the paper towel over that to pick up the excess. So that's a little bit darker and a more vibrant than this did because you're spraying directly on the paper. The next thing I want to show y'all that you can smoosh with is this. This is new in the store. This is a sheer shimmer spritz, and it's a gold color. It's made by Imagine Crafts. I'm going to put a little bit of this on this stamp block. It is a beautiful color, and we're just going to smoosh it down. Okay, so that one doesn't spread out as much, but I bet we can manipulate it with a little bit of water. I'm gonna let it drip some. So I'm gonna take the excess off of here so we're not losing any, and just do some flicks with it with the paintbrush. So let's spray this with a little bit of water, and I bet we can manipulate it out of those lines just a little bit and make it more of a smush background. Just let it roll around. So this was the Gold Shimmer Spritz. So it worked a little bit different than the Oxide sprays did, but you're still getting a pretty background on there. We're going to hit it with the heat. That's so pretty. Can you see the gold reflecting in there? I'm going to dab it up just a little bit. Okay, so on here, we've used the Kitsch Flamingo Distress Oxide, the Salvage Patina Distress Oxide, the Distress Oxide Spray, and the Shimmer Gold Spritz on there. And we used a stamp block, and we used just a piece of acetate. And on the Vicki Boutin foundation paper, it comes with that clear acetate cover. You can cut that into pieces. That's what this is. Or you can use the inserts that come in, like your stickers, your enamel dots, and things like that. So I'm going to move this to the side, and we're going to grab the piece that we gessoed. It's a little wobbly, wrinkly, but that's okay. Now I'm going to talk about how to smoosh directly on the paper with your ink pad. So you know, you see a lot of layouts now that are the strips of color going across and you let it drip. So you can take your Distress Oxide pad and smear it directly on your paper. And then what you can do is take your water. You're going to do it when your ink is wet. You're going to do this on there. And then you can just kind of hold your paper and float it around. So that's going to give you another technique if you don't want to use the block. If you're doing a bigger area, like if you were doing the center of this paper and you wanted a whole bunch of color, you can do this. If you have another color that you want to add into here to blend colors, you could do that in the Distress Oxide and Speckled Egg. And you can blend these colors together. So it's going to almost give it a gray look mixed in with that salvage patina. You see how it swirls in there? It's almost like an acrylic paint blend going on. So you just roll it around, have some drips, whatever you want it to do. And this you can do a bigger background with. So you can hit this with the heat gun. So that's the salvage patina drug across. You can also go in, now that it's dry, and add a little bit of the Kitsch Flamingo, and you can blend these colors together. Just a little bit of the blue, a little bit of the pink on top of the blue. Your pink will stand alone now. Put a little bit more water right there. So if you want to do several colors on top of each other, you can. I love how you can see the bright spots, the light spots. It's not as dark and vibrant in areas. And you can overlap it and just kind of guide it around. You just kind of bend your paper and let it flow where it wants to go. Like if it's not going into that area and you want it to, hit a little drop of water. You can use your paintbrush to give it a little area. Like if you want it to come out to like a little point, you can use your paintbrush to kind of guide it out to that area. Use it to go over your other color a little bit. So. As long as you draw them, you can build these colors. If you don't draw them, it's going to turn brown. Blot this up. So that's how you go directly onto it. If you want to make it where it has the long drips, you can do a streak like that. And you would just turn your paper, spritz it this way. You would take your paintbrush, if you're trying to get those long drips, and work it to where you get those drips go in the direction you want them, like a dripping crayon art or something like that. And then you can get it just to go down, just wherever you want it. You can make it have one or two little drips coming down, and you just kind of guide it with your paintbrush. And you could do a rainbow effect and just do this color, dry it, your next color, and so on until you've gotten all your streaks down your paper. So that would give you the long, if you're going across your page or whatever, and you can see the waves in it, the darker spots in it. If it's not dark enough, you can always go over it with another layer as well. So let's go back to the Vicki Boutin one that we did. You can take these colors now. Say we wanted the Distress Oxide splatters on here. You can take this, take the lid off, put it to the side. Some people use the lid the sprayer end. I like to use a paintbrush. I just dip my paintbrush end to end of it and just do some splatters. You can splatter on top of the pink, the gold, whatever you want. If you want bigger splatters, you can get a larger amount on there and you just hold it. You can maneuver it. If you have a fine point on your brush, you can maneuver it and make your splatters bigger as you want, like that. You can go, so you can make your splatters whatever size you want them, like that. The other way you can make your splatters, if you see, we do this on the lives a lot. You take your Distress Oxide onto your acetate or whatever you're using, spritz a little water directly on it, take your paintbrush, you smear it around, and you can make your splatters this way. The more water you use, the more diluted your color will be. If you don't want to waste any of this on there, you can take this acetate piece that you have and kind of direct it and make big splatters like that. Okay, and you always wipe it off because you can reuse this over and over. So let's hit this with the dryer real quick. And the last thing you can do is you can just get your water and you can go on. This is a resist technique, so you can go on the colors that you already made, put some pretty big water drops on it, let it sit a minute. You can either hit it with a dryer or you can use your paper towels, depending on how much time you have. The longer you let it sit, the more it's going to resist, but you can let it sit or hit it with a dryer, and then you just roll your paper towels over it. And let me see if you can see. It went in and it lifted the color. And if you do this before it dries, it's going to get more of a lift, more of a definitive lift where you can see the white, but you can still see it in here, so it mutes that color out some. Okay, so for Mixed Media Monday, episode 3, we talked about smooshing. We used Ranger Distress Oxides in Salvage Patina and Kitsch Flamingo. We used some of the Distress Oxide sprays in Speckled Egg and Salvage Patina. We tried out the gold sheer shimmer spritz that's in the store. It is a beautiful, let me just show you spritzed, how pretty it looks. If you're going to spritz directly on your paper. It is a gorgeous gold, beautiful gold flecks too. We did it on an acetate sheet, which allows you to maneuver it more. We did it on an acrylic stamp block, which is going to give you a bigger area. This is on the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper, and there's a little bit of warping to it, but not much at all. And then this was on a thinner cardstock, which I can still use this. I would just need to do my background and then lay it under something and use it tomorrow. This is a regular cardstock that had been gessoed. I think either way is fine. You just know that you're going to have to flatten this out a little bit. So I will link everything in the store. Everything that I used is in the store right now. The spritzer bottle has been on back order, but it's going to be coming in soon. All the inks are in there. The Vicki Boutin paper is in there as well. I hope you enjoyed this technique. Episode 4 will be next Monday. You can go back and watch 1 and 2. 1, Christy did gesso. She talked about the gessos and what it looks like on the papers with and without gesso. I highly recommend, if you're doing this technique and you're going to put any amount of water on there, that you absolutely use a heavy foundations paper like a Vicki Boutin, or you use a thicker cardstock that you have gessoed. If not, your paper's going to bubble. It could even get peely or whatever you want to call it. So then the second one was Danielle, and she did the Vicki Boutin gel crayons. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a great day, and be sure and use code Mixed Media Monday. It'll be in there. I think it's MMMPI for 20% off your purchases. Have a great day.